you're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Johanna Chan. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Untraceable COVID cases in Hong Kong hit another record in the current fifth wave. Discharge rules are eased, allowing COVID patients to leave hospital earlier. And the torch relay for the Beijing Winter Olympics begins. Hong Kong has recorded 30 new COVID infections with no known source of transmission, a new high in the fifth wave. Health officials expect a rise in untraceable and Omicron cases. Maisie Mok reports.
Hong Kong has recorded 116 new COVID infections, 103 of them locally transmitted. They include 30 untraceable cases, a new high as the city battles its fifth COVID wave. 71 of the new cases were of the Omicron variant.
Because of the high infectivity of the Omicron and also the short incubation period, the number of unlinked cases is getting increasing, and the situation is getting worse. So we have already redeployed a lot of disciplinary force members to our contact tracing office. So currently we have around 500 officers in the two centers. So if necessary, we may further increase the number of people doing the tracing job.
People were again urged to get vaccinated after a 77-year-old woman who contracted the virus and has a long-term illness was listed in critical condition. Meanwhile, residents of flat number 6 on the 24th and 25th floors of Kwai Foon House in Kwai Fong Estate had to be evacuated on suspicion of an airborne transmission. Residents of several floors of May Sun Building in Tai Po also had to leave their homes. Chuang did not rule out a partial evacuation of Hing Peng House in Tai Hing Estate after 3 cases were confirmed. People who visited the Hong Kong Sports Institute in Sha Tin and the temple at Cheong Fook House in Sham Shui Po have to get tested after several infections were detected. Maisie Mok, HKIBC.
Preliminary positive cases have been found in 2 buildings that were sealed off last night. And in a bid to create more places in hospitals, COVID patients can be discharged up to 1 week earlier if their viral loads are lower after 3 tests.
Previously, COVID patients were discharged from hospital after 2 negative tests. In a bid to free up beds amid a rise in infections, the hospital authority has updated its discharge arrangements. Patients may now go home if 3 tests, 24 hours apart, show a CT value higher than 33. But they will have to quarantine at home for 2 weeks.
When the patient's CT value is more than 33, the virus is already there. So that means the patient is not infective, and it's safe for the patient to stay at home, and the family will not be affected when the patient is discharged. We will expect that, for example, today or tomorrow, we will expect there will be 50, 60 patients who can be discharged according to the new criteria.
Earlier this morning, Chong Mun House in Tai Hang Tung Estate reopened after an overnight shutdown for compulsory testing. 1 preliminary positive infection and 1 unconfirmed case were found in the Sham Shui Po estate. Altogether, 381 residents were tested. Officials knocked on the doors of 140 households and only 8 did not answer. In another lockdown, 3 preliminary positive cases were found in Serenity Villa in Tai Po. Officials tested 634 residents in the Tai Po Tau building. Health authorities visited 197 households and 14 did not answer.
The World Health Organization, the WHO, has expressed concern about the rapid spread of the Omicron COVID variant and its subspecies. It warned governments to remain alert.
It's premature for any country either to surrender or to declare victory. This virus is dangerous. and it continues to evolve before our very eyes. WHO is currently tracking 4 sublineages of the Omicron variant of concern, including BA.2.
Tedros said the emergence of new mutants should make governments realize that it is too early to relax epidemic prevention restrictions. He said there have already been 90 million cases of Omicron since the strain was identified a few weeks ago. In Hong Kong, rural leader Kenneth Lau says the fortune stick he drew today suggested that the city should take one step at a time to fight COVID. He said the neutral stick could also be suggesting that Hong Kong's leader be a practical and experienced person. Chloe Feng reports.
Kenneth Lau, who has the influential rural body, the HKIBC, drew a neutral fortune stick, number 38, during the annual traditional ceremony at the Chek Kung Temple in Sha Tin this morning. Lau said the prophecy hinted that Hong Kong should not resort to hasty actions to fight COVID, but instead should take one step at a time. He said the city will be successful if it sticks with the old ways, adding that everyone has been doing a good job in trying to ward off the virus. Lau was pressed if the message could also be related to the forthcoming chief executive election. The Cook chairman, who is also a pro-establishment lawmaker, explained that it could be a signal that the city's leader should be someone who is down to earth and experienced. Geomancer Chan Ting-yen said the fortune stick might be suggesting that Chief Executive Carrie Lam not seek re-election. The HKIBC has been tasked with drawing the fortune stick since 2004, the year after the then Home Affairs Chief Patrick Ho drew one of the worst sticks, number 83. In 2003, Hong Kong was hit by SARS, which killed 299 people and shattered the economy. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
Overseas, as tensions over Ukraine continue, Russia has gone on a diplomatic offensive, saying claims that it plans to attack its neighbor is a ploy by the West.
Russian troops are not at the Russian-Ukrainian border. They are where they normally stay. In April, there was a similar situation when there were maneuvers, exercises, and the troops moved in, then they moved out. Nobody then made any fuss about it. Suddenly, today, that is being portrayed and presented as an imminent danger to Ukraine.
Russian President Vladimir Putin went one step further and accused the West of trying to create a situation which would force Moscow into a war. He reminded the Western alliance, NATO, that it had agreed in 1999 not to expand eastward. In the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, President Volodymyr Zelensky insisted that Russian forces pull out from the border region. This followed talks with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, whose country is among the NATO members providing military support to Ukraine. The United Nations has demanded a return to civilian rule in Myanmar, as the generals in the Southeast Asian country marked the first anniversary of their coup.
It is time for an urgent, renewed effort to restore human rights and democracy in Myanmar and to ensure that the perpetrators of systematic human rights violations and abuses are held to account. We have documented 1,500 people who have been killed, but this is only in the context of protests.
Cities across Myanmar were quiet yesterday as people heeded a call by democracy activists to stage a silent protest against the military rulers. The generals reacted by extending a state of emergency for another 6 months, citing threats from what they described as internal and external saboteurs. Amnesty International has accused Israel of apartheid over the way it treats Palestinians. The United States rejected the claim, while Israel said Amnesty's report was based on lies. But the human rights group is standing firm.
Our conclusions may shock and disturb, and they should. Some within the government of Israel may seek to deflect from them by falsely accusing Amnesty of attempting to destabilize Israel, or being anti-Semitic, or unfairly singling out Israel. But I am here today to say that baseless attacks, barefaced lies, fabrication on the messenger will not silence the message and an organization of 10 million members the world over.
Part of an expressway has collapsed in the Brazilian city of São Paulo. There were no casualties, but a crater that opened up forced the closure of a large stretch of the highway, causing traffic jams as thousands of people tried to go to work. The collapse happened above a construction site for a new subway line. Officials say it could take weeks to repair the damage. São Paulo state has been hit by floods and mudslides after weeks of heavy rain, and there is speculation that the downpours could have played a role in the collapse. The Year of the Tiger has given people the chance to celebrate all things related to the fierce feline. The Chinese university is presenting a special exhibition, while 2 cubs in Guangdong are waiting to be named. Chloe Feng reports.
Coming second to the dragon in the 12th animal Chinese zodiac, the tiger is a powerful and a strong creature, but it can look as cuddly as a cat at times. To celebrate this fierce feline in the Year of the Tiger, a special exhibition is being held at the Chinese University's Art Museum. The exhibits include traditional Chinese water and ink paintings, calligraphy, seals, and ceramics. Some require close observation to appreciate the hidden touches. This piece, titled The Sickly Tiger, depicts the animal in pain. But the poem next to it explains that there's a song in its claws. Because of COVID restrictions, the exhibition is not open to the public, but the items can be viewed online. Meanwhile, a pair of baby tigers in southern China turned 1 month old today. The female twin cubs were born at a breeding base in Guangdong province. People have been asked to suggest names for the pair, and the most popular ones will be selected in 2 weeks' time. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
On to the weather now. Cloudy tomorrow with rain in the morning. The temperature will range between 13 and 16 degrees, and it will be colder in the following days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Johanna Chan. Good evening.